Okay, so just giving you a little update here. Rear wheels are back on. What we did is we rolled the rear end upside down so I could weld these brackets on. So I burned those in, inside, outside, tube side. So this is actually, obviously this is the very bottom. Shock mount is here. Both sides are done. You can see the bottom of the track bar mount. They did a nice root pass, then went back over it and gave it a nice cover pass and really blended it together. What Bill's doing right now is on this 10.5-inch rear, there's this giant wing that sticks off the side. Some kind of, I suppose it's for reinforcement, like some kind of a ribbing. It's gonna interfere with the gas tank, so we're losing it. He's cutting it off right now. The upper link bar mount, of course it's upside down. You can see where the ground clamp is, that's welded on. That's for the center link. That's for this link right here. We'll get you some video of it once it's in and up in the air. So we're just getting this all finished up, let everything cool. He's gonna paint it. And then we're gonna flip this rear end back over, hook up some link bars, set the coil springs on it, set the weight of the Jeep down on it, and we're gonna see where we stand. All right, that's it for now. More updates. Oh, but anybody that's curious, doing all this welding with a Miller 252 MIG. I've had this welder for years, never let me down, but welding it at 21 volts and 375 on the wire speed, running 035 ER70S wire. Just put a new tip on there. I found that to be a nice size wire for, everything from, it's a little tough on sheet metal, but I can weld up to 1/2-inch plate pretty well with it. So that's it. Yep, standard 75-25 MIG shielding gas. And I run these short bottles. I have a couple of them. I find the short bottles are nice because you can roll the machine under stuff and they don't bang on everything when it's up on the lift. All right, we'll get you some more later. All right, back at Cooter's garage. We welded the brackets on the rear end. Yep. Rick's rear axle is in there. We got his Falcon shocks on the mounts. He's got to get the correct bushing, so there's no bushing in the upper. He's got to get the right eye bushings. The lowers have them. These will come back out, get washers put on there and anti-seized. You can kind of see it a little better on this one. So these had a bar pin in there for a JK. Now we don't have bar pins anymore. We have regular nuts and bolts through these rock crawler upper brackets. Unfortunately, this remote resi here is a little vulnerable, but he's got his dial down here. We tried turning them the other way and they just won't clear the brackets. So it might come into fabricating a skid plate perhaps. I don't know. Ideally non-reservoir shocks would be perfectly fine here, but these are what he had and they fit. So we're gonna look at putting in his factory track bar for now until he gets an adjustable. I measured the length of it at ride height. It should work. These brackets were set up and we test fit it to fit a JK track bar. That one up there is a factory end, so we didn't change that. All the bolts are loose. They've been anti-seized. Upper link brackets welded on. Lower brackets are fully welded. So we're gonna drop it down, check full compression, see what that looks like, and then we'll probably pull the lower shock bolts and stuff some coil springs in there. All right. No springs in the back, but we're maxing this out. Bill, is that light? Yep. Your big box light? Get some under carriage shots. So we've come down pretty much further than this thing probably will ever compress. We do still have clearance around the factory track bar. However, the one thing we don't have with this bar is any kind of adjustability in it. Really what we want to do is move the rear end to the driver's side about 1 inch. Because we do have, let me see if I can shimmy up here. Sorry for blinding you. I knew this would be a problem, especially on this 10.5-inch rear end in a JK with a factory gas tank. The yoke is right up against the metal gas tank skid. So I'd like to move the rear end over 1 inch. I know it'll be off center. We may balance that with a wheel spacer on the right side. We'll have to see. But what we do need to get is an adjustable or some kind of a track bar that we can either build to our own length or hopefully one with enough adjustment in it. So we're going to look into that. Next thing we're going to do is go back up and we're going to pop the coil springs in here. See how she sits at ride height. It's actually lower than I think it will ever be. The front is sitting on the ground. I'll back out and give you a distant shot here. So we realize the rear is stuffed up in there further than it probably ever will be. You can see the difference. Go America. So the front's sitting on the ground. It's not on the lift arms in the front. It's still on the lift arms in the back because there's nothing holding that up and there's no bump stops in the back. So Bill's going to order some urethane bump stops for the rear. We may or may not have to weld a steel plate onto the top of the truss. Like a lot of JK lift kits, they give you a steel spacer or some kind of spacer. So right now we're going to go back up. We're going to throw some recoils in it and put her back down and let her sit at ride height.